that's where all the aluminum got stuck.
Look how tiny it is.
There we go. As he was talking about his penis. What? Dude, it's working perfectly. Just ever so gently, and it's just coming right off. We're tearing apart the all-wheel drive 4-rotor engine very quickly. I'm going to go through the basic process of cleaning out the rotors, as well as the irons, housings, all of that, to get it ready to be put back together. So the first thing I'm going to work on is actually the one thing that is most critical to all of this, and that's what everybody recognizes, the rotor. This one in particular needs some serious love, and you can see why. There was foreign material that got into the rotor. It's going to get really messy before it gets cleaner, but I wanted to do it on this table to show you. So I have this right here. This is a side seal, and you can see it comes from the side, and that seals the explosion here from coming over to the side where the oil is. This one is from the 3-rotor, and it's good. It's not bad. But what I'm using it for is as a pick, essentially, to pick out all the stuff that is now in the side of this rotor. So you're going to see tons of weird small pieces. We'll kind of go through them as we go. Here's the side seals, and they're bound up a little bit. And you can see why already. Even on the wide-angle GoPro, you can tell there's a problem. We'll do it on this white towel, see if we can see the result. And look at that. There's oil, and then there's aluminum. When we were checking compression, there was only problems on one rotor side, which means the pieces that aren't shared with the other rotors, apex seals, which are right here, go between these two. So if this seal was broken, both of these sides would have problems. All of our problems were centralized to one face, which is what gave us the impression that there's something wrong up here. So you can see all of that. Insane. We could have left it in there, but that would have ultimately damaged the motor.
So these aren't FD, these are S4, because he just gave me a price for everything. It's fucking expensive. Like $900. Let's see, Dahm, cooling seals.
Here's where the real issue is at. Underneath the seal itself, this is meant to touch the housing, the walls, and just gently scrape along it, keeping compression up. There's a spring underneath it, pushing it away from the rotor. This little spring has seen some shit. Hilarious. Looks like a little zigzag curly Q thing. But these are ultimately trash at this point, but I want to show you what trashed them. And like I said, I'm not putting too much effort into these because they're already gone. We'll save them, but I'm not going to be too nice with them. But you see all of that material. Here's the final level of holy crap. I'm going to take the seal from the 3-rotor, and you can already see all of that aluminum coming out. Chunks of it there, all over. That's essentially what killed this rotor. One of the sides actually had perfect compression. It had 120 PSI compression. One side had about 90, and then the third side had 30, well 27. We're gonna find out that not all sides are created equal and see exactly where the problem occurred. Now, some of these popped out as we were pulling apart the motor. That's pretty common. But we'll see the ones that are left. And that's what's really interesting about rotor engines. All these, yeah, that one's pretty bound up. It's actually getting stuck and stopping as I'm pushing on it. This one should be interesting. For the most part, they really should, when you're testing it, should spring back and forth. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, you see the shimmery areas on that. Yeah. Well, it's even stuck on the seal itself. So we could have tried to just kind of ignore the problem, but that would have been basically like rock tumbling the whole engine. I don't think anybody would want to rock tumble a $60,000 engine. But it did wear on the side of the side seal considerably. If this was a customer motor, I would be replacing all of these. But because this is a high horsepower, we're going to be tearing this back down shortly situation, not so worried about it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take this spring out as well. See what's hidden in there. Yeah, It's the bigger chunks that did her in. Fortunately, the rotor itself is fine. This is all steel. This one's already out, so we're going to take out the spring. Let's see what's in here. So I saw that larger chunk there. Still, again, same situation. Now, not all of this black stuff is from aluminum, because of course these were actually used in combustion. So unburnt fuels in here as well. We're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And you can just feel all of them binding up. This one's the worst. I can just feel it like crunching. Take this off. Yeah. It's really impressive though that a rotary engine could take this sort of abuse. Oh, wow. Wow. That one might have been the bad one. As I was pulling, I could feel just tons of crap coming off of it. Wow. This has to be the bad one. This has to be what caused the compression issue. That's more than likely our smoking gun there. Well, might as well just take off the next ones right here. There's aluminum all over these. I can feel it stuck on them. I can't see it with my own eyes, but I can feel along this bottom edge, this corner here, it's all full of metal. I can just feel it. I'm not trying to bend these or anything like that because these are good. Okay, these definitely need some attention before they go back in. Because there's like, yeah, I can feel it. You can hear it right there. It's going away as I scrape it. So it's not the seal. It's actual metal grafted onto it. Wow. Okay, that would have never gone away. Because one of my things was, okay, maybe if we heat the engine up, aluminum melts at a lower temperature, but it would get clear through there. Nope. This is well seated into the rotor. You guys could hear that. I know that the GoPro had to be able to hear that. Yeah, there we go. Much better. Oh my God. We're gonna have to clean all of these. Every single one of these have to be cleaned. Like, not just like washed off clean, but it's metal's melted to the seal itself. It's funny because this is the bottom side. This isn't the top side of the seal. It's just gonna go back into the next pile anyway. Even rebuilding this motor internally, like in the shop, you're still talking about $2,000 in material. And that's not labor. Me and Dave, we're working that over. That's not going to be, it would be thousands of dollars to just to check this level out. That's what you got to keep in mind when, is it worth how much effort it just took? That's what you have to kind of figure out. Wow, it's on all of them. Just some of them were sticking harder. Little chunk right there. This reminds me of like having plaque on your teeth. That's exactly how this feels. So now that we have all of those off, let's pull out the springs. And again, springs don't really matter, but here comes the magic of this side of the rotor, which is pulling. That one seems fine. That one's got a couple small chunks right there, there. That one seems pretty fine. When tolerances matter, that stuff adds up. But you guys saw how bad that side seal was. It itself turned into the problem. When I was younger, you just kind of assume or dream how these things work. Everything's actually kind of more of a controlled burn, not so much explosions as you think as a kid. It doesn't get as hot or as insane everywhere as you think. These are oil control rings, also similar to like piston rings. Some aluminum, I'm going to assume, got past the side seals. It just has to, because especially with low compression. Now this little guy, he was popping out early. That's a corner seal spring, so that goes inside there. If you have both side seals on there, there's still air getting through this center area. So apex seal spring, corner seal, and side seals, and they all play together nicely. But this is a spring that also is going to get replaced. So we're going to go for the everybody's favorite part, apex seals. And that's kind of what I was expecting. That line right there is where the aluminum would have gone into the seat of the seal and just polished. Do I think that's a big problem? Not really. And of course, the important part of the seal, which is up here. Contrary to what everybody believes, apex seals really don't break nowadays. Something's got to give, but you're more likely to have coolant seal failure or anything else. This apex seal setup has 2 springs and 2 pieces. There's a little triangle corner piece, but that's sitting over on the table. These are looking pretty okay. Yep, same exact thing. Here's the third one. Again, I don't really have a reason to suspect apex seals having any sort of issue whatsoever. Okay, as for the rotor itself, you're looking for detonation, which actually can bend this. It's hollow on the inside, but it'll actually bend this in. It's nuts. I've seen rotors with that, not mine, but in general. Nonetheless, everything looks pretty good. Nothing's chipping the surface or anything like that. We do have something interesting. There's a ton of oil inside the rotor, which by design, and that's why rotaries, their oil temperatures actually matter so much. Unlike a piston engine, they're using oil to actively cool parts that can't be gotten to with water. All the surfaces look good and accounted for. And the last, most critical part of a rotor is similar to the way a crankshaft uses bearings. It's really just oil bearing, like a journal bearing. There's no ball bearings in the center of that. And for good reason. The oil technology and normally clearances on rotary engines and pistons have gotten so insanely good. Oil is probably the most effective way to make a bearing, but that's what connects to the centric shaft right there. As you can see, that little race in the center area, that's all part of the oiling process. I got excited and started working and forgot to record. So these are the oil control rings. I just simply pop them up. And the fascinating part is the O-ring. There's actually an O-ring inside of there. Really cool. So I pulled this one out. Same concept as everything else. A wear surface on the top. You can just see the silver ring, which signifies the top part. And then an O-ring like that. This one is an O-ring on the inside. Really awesome. But they both obviously have a wear side and a side with edges. That's not the side that's supposed to go outward. And the outer one does seem to have actually more crap in it. I was feeling optimistic, but nope. So again, some of this is just pure like combustion, but look at, there's some aluminum right there. And it makes sense because it got past the corner seals and side seals and it was in these pockets, the light pockets or the balancing pockets. So of course it's gonna be here too, right there. These springs I may reuse yet, I'm not sure. Now, these don't really affect compression. I'm sure, somebody's engine they have, but not in this circumstance. In this circumstance, they're more controlling the oil from the heavy oil centered area here at 100 and some odd PSI, preventing it from going out, and when there's combustion, preventing it from going in. And that's where you get oil blow by. Combustion gas and all that ignites, and before it can make it out of the exhaust, it goes around here and goes into the oil, and that's why your oil starts smelling like gas, which my 3-rotor did that all the time. That's just the nature of this. So race engines, you end up replacing the oil very quickly. Yep, there's aluminum. Okay, that was a smart move. Smart move. Very gentle. Again, I'm not putting pressure on this because otherwise that's gonna just rip it and make it bigger. There's definitely aluminum on it. This is the one we definitely don't want to make bigger. Be super gentle here. This one should not be as dirty. It's the inner one. It feels less dirty. We'll do the same on this side. I'm sure there's a better tool for that, but I'm not doing any damage. This stuff's all gonna get cleaned again and probably twice, but with different methods. This is just getting the major debris off. Analysis, yep, there's plenty of aluminum in there as well. And there we go, we've got an essentially naked rotor. Really the only thing left on it is this press fit bearing. That's about it. Obviously the ring on this side, but there she is. Okay, so she's gonna get ultrasonic, supersonic, hydrosonic cleaning action next. There's everything that's meant to be on it right now. Actually, let me get the rest of it. It's all sitting over here. That's not good. Here's the last side seal, the one that fell out, which is a good sign, meaning that, yeah, sure enough, it's smooth. The other ones were stuck in. So there are 6 side seals accounted for, 3 apex seals, that's it. 6 corner seals. What's really funny is when you do stuff like, say, 2-step a 3-rotor, but you give it way too much ignition adjustment, you actually break these. These are more common to break first. And that's exactly what I did. I had 5 of these broken when we finally tore apart the 3-rotor for the first time. You know, I couldn't find any information online about what proper 2-stepping is. And so I just started going, I just put numbers in, and I knew what they meant, but I just didn't know what's common. And then there's a video where I test it and I actually break these, and then the idle starts acting up, and I still drove it for like 3 years. There's 6 of those accounted for, but here's where we start running into issues. We only have 2 out of the 3 apex seal corners. These little pieces of metal are absolutely vital. They're the rest of the apex seal. And for those of you guys not familiar, that when you call it a 2-piece apex seal, that's a 2-piece apex seal. And so the bigger spring actually helps push the outer piece out wider, and then the smaller spring's just for this piece. Some wild action going there. So we're missing one of these. Aside from the missing piece, that is all the functional pieces of a rotor. Found it right here. There were 4 of them. One of them was stuck to the other 3. So there's 3 of them there, 3 of them there, and 3 of them there. But this one was hidden with the wrong one, so we're safe. So there we go. There's the 3rd and final full apex seal. I want to show you guys some of the details from this camera because GoPros don't always do it justice, especially with the wide angle. What you see here is the aluminum that was on each of the side seals, particularly under them, and worse yet, it was actually on the back edge. It was melted to the side seal. You see that little edge of lighter, yeah, there we go, look at that. That's where all the aluminum got stuck. And so it was preventing the seal from moving in and out of its seat. This still needs to be cleaned out, but I took the worst of it off of these, scraping it gently. Plenty of more work to do to get that gone. I'm gonna take 4 of these and list each of them accordingly. I'm gonna skip the boring detail of repeating what I just did for one rotor. I'm gonna continue doing that for the rest of them. I'm gonna load all of those parts into here, and then I'm gonna show you guys the bigger issue, and that's the housings. So if shit hits the fan and we can't get new springs, everything is accounted for here. This is probably the worst issue long term. It's the housing. So the housing overall is fine. I mean, there were sides of this rotor that had complete compression, 120, awesome. But that was the short-term picture. The long-term picture is right here. And this is something we were hoping would happen, but not like this. The fuel compresses up here, ignites with the spark plugs, and then there's heat generated, obviously, and then it sweeps that hot combustion out of this hole. I was hoping it would vaporize it, and it kind of did, and then it cooled on the surface of the housing. One of the other rotor housings actually has consistently okay compression, and that's where I'm thinking it's actually over here. What I want to do is just make sure I take off as much aluminum without touching a single bit of the chrome underneath. And you can tell the chrome's actually an insert. You press it in, and it's like a jagged edge on the backside. It's really cool looking. Wait, you actually see the spark plug right there? It's trailing and leading. You just see it, just chunks of aluminum embedded. And the pick still didn't really scrape it off. It pushed it on. If you're ever doing oil injection, like stock oil injection, there's the little oil injector hole. We don't do that, we premix. Oh, you see a couple chunks actually still stuck in right there. Thankfully, there's no grooving this way. That's the most aggressive issue. I can feel it right there, the aluminum. What's actually picking it up? That was my hope, is that would work, but look at it, scraped some of the aluminum off. at that. That actually worked. Holy shit. That is amazing. With the minimal amount of effort, very gently, I took off some of the flakes. I'm not going to get aggressive with this because there's no reason. It'll wear in anyway. But I just want to make sure that chunks like that come off that easily, you know, put in the effort. What I'm going to do is get some WD-40 to help this glide as it's pulling that debris off. And ideally, it'd be nice to be able to control the positioning of this. Okay, pulled even more of it off. I'll be damned. I am so happy that this is working. What I was really looking for before I was going to use an actual stone was like a brass, something, you know, something where it would affect softer metals and just anything that's not fully stuck. Some of the rotary guys that are actually really experts at this stuff in the comments can definitely give me a better step. I mean, this isn't exactly a very common issue to deal with when rebuilding. As you guys see, it's not like I'm digging in or anything.
Look how tiny it is.
There we go. Isaiah was talking about his penis. What? Dude, it's working perfectly. Just ever so gently, and it's just coming right off. There we go. Look at that, just coming right off. Maybe over time that would have gone away. Wow, there's tons up here. Whoa, I did not see that. Whoa, okay. Wow, it really went on this side. Which would, how does that make sense? This is the air would have been coming in and would have went to the far, oh, that makes sense. Because it would have went to the farthest side, side port. That's why this side's even worse.
It's gonna have to come up because the way that this little thing is right there.
Yeah.
Look at the angle right there.
And if it has to come up, it comes up a little bit. This area was hidden from plain sight. Just feel it. Sure enough. It feels so good pulling that off. The problem is if you wanted to use like sandpaper, which is, you know, your first kind of impression, I wanted something that maintained its shape so it didn't let high points stick out. Look at that. That's compression coming back as we speak. As promised, I'm just doing the same thing to each of the rotors. And there are the other three that are misbehaved and all. I'm not taking any chances contaminating anything with anything else. So I've got the fourth rotor. She's actually the dirtiest in the sense of just pure aluminum everywhere. It's all over everything. It's clean. Well, it's cleaner now, but it was inside the corner seals. What's in the center of the shot. It's in those areas. You can kind of see. We'll go very carefully. You can see it still. All in there. Those guys were even having a tough time being stuck in, but look at this. Look at that sort of organization.